Hello, my friends. It is day 301, and we're reading Luke chapter 16 through Luke chapter 17. But before we get into our recap today, I want to thank you for taking a moment to check out this video. Hopefully, you're finding the yearly Bible reading program helpful, enjoyable, and everything you need it to be as you continue your walk with Christ. If you have not yet accepted the invitation, you can think about 2026 as we prepare to begin planning for an incredible reading community that will help us in the upcoming year draw closer to the Lord. And I'm excited about it. I want you to be a part of it. So please check out www.selflesschurch.org, and there you'll be able to locate a link that will take you directly to a reservation page where you can just submit your information and keep up to date with everything that we're going to be doing. So we hope you'll join us, and we look forward to reading with you. All right, so here we are. Luke chapter 16 and Luke chapter 17. There are a number of things happening here. Jesus' ministry is flowing, and we've kind of read some of these parables and some of these stories before, but this is intended to explain to the followers what does it mean to be a part of Jesus' kingdom. And the key word here is kingdom. A kingdom is not simply a place; it is a rule. You'll see some definitions that will say that it is a domain that is ruled upon, but the emphasis here is the actual reign itself. And the reason this is important is because the kingdom of God is not like any other kingdom that you might interact with or experience. Kingdoms typically have domains, and they have places, designations. This kingdom is a universal kingdom, and it's unlike anything we've ever seen before. And not only is it universal in influence, but it's universal in geography, meaning quite literally this kingdom spans across the entire world. And this is intentionally noted in the Gospels because the prophets spoke of a day where the whole earth would be filled with the knowledge of the glory of God. And they anticipated a time where Israel's God would rule over the entire world, granting his people the sort of authority, the sort of fame, and the sort of protection, providence, and presence that was shadowed but not yet fulfilled in the Old Testament, right? So when we think about the messianic rule, the messianic reign, as it is described by the prophets, and as it is further elaborated upon and envisioned between those periods dating between Malachi and Matthew, you understand that there's a significance here to the use of the word kingdom in all of these parables that try to define what that kingdom is like and what it will do. And so when we look at chapter 16 and 17, we see that there are different ethics. And I keep using this word because we kind of run into this idea of ethical living in the epistles. Namely, we refer to Paul's epistles, even though James has a lot to say, and even though Jude and Peter have a great number of things to say in comparison to Paul, albeit it is focusing on what they describe as the end, that they still have a strong sense of ethics there. But what we want to understand is that ethics, kingdom ethics, are found deeply in the teachings of Jesus Christ. And from the moment, which was early on, he states he's about to depart, he begins to teach them what does it mean to be a part of the kingdom. And many people, just because of the lack of humility and sobriety and the fact that there is a sense of pride with the use of the word kingdom, miss the ethics of Jesus as it pertains to what does it mean to be a part of the kingdom and represent this kingdom. So when you see in chapter 16, where there's this situation where a rich man had a manager handling the affairs. You see early on in the parable, this manager is in this debt, obviously, or he's being called to account for wasting the master's money, should I say. And he has this issue with pride. He's not going to beg. You see, these subtle details are trying to help us understand the sort of humility, the sort of character even that should be found in a person who's supposedly a part of God's kingdom. And it goes on to show and help us understand the deception of wealth, um, the deception of pride. It goes to show us the humility that should be found in those who are what we might consider highest in the kingdom, because kingdoms have rankings. But in Jesus's kingdom, the lower you are, the higher you are ranked. If you understand that, do you understand? I hope you get what I'm saying there. Not that like anyone's taking count, but what really matters is that it's the lowliness within the kingdom. Like how far down can you get? Because that's the best place to be. Brothers and sisters, I sit here tonight and I think about these things, and I often am drawn to disappointment, and um, I'm actually baffled because these subtle details. But I don't even know if they're that subtle. They're very obvious to me, but the way in which they're presented is subtle. It seems to be missed in the larger conversation of the kingdom, and there's always seemingly this tone and overtone of arrogance and pride, and there's a lack of humility and servitude, and that's among the greatest proponents of the kingdom doctrine and message, right? So, and in many instances, it's like you all are supposed to be humble, but because I'm a part of the kingdom, I'm not. You know, like there's something about the way we articulate this idea, and I think if you go back and you read all the scholars, the ones who proposed concepts of the kingdom, you'll find the touch of that in each one of them. There are very few arguments by scholars that seem to capitalize on this underlying and very important detail about humility and servitude, and you know the resistance towards pride and arrogance, and ascending to any particular role or position. But anyway, we see those kinds of lessons. We see very clearly in chapter 17 that there is a clear message about the coming of the kingdom and how it's going to catch a lot of people off guard. And the reason we see this is because the reference that Jesus makes to Noah's day lets us know that this kingdom will not come in a obvious way. It lets us know that the kingdom is going to come in a way that can be easily missed, because it will not come in a way that is expected by those who think they're prepared for it. And let me just say, the way in which people would assume that they could sensually discern, meaning with your five senses, discern the coming of the kingdom, is clearly denounced in this chapter, in chapter 17. Because not only will they not be prepared for it, but because of their lack of preparation, they will not be in a position to see what they should see, and naturally understand that the kingdom has arrived. So the ideas that we have formed over the years about the kingdom coming in as if it was a cataclysmic event, meaning cataclysmically observable, that seems to be foreign to the scriptures and to everything that we read in Jesus' teaching. Rather, what's cataclysmic is the impact that is had, not simply the arrival and the experience of such a arrival of the kingdom. It is the impact that is cataclysmic, that is earth shattering, that is ground shaking. The fact that you have such humble people influencing the world in ways that was traditionally reserved for dignitaries and leaders, and those who use those different platforms as they ascended throughout whatever hierarchy existed. Those days are long gone. It is the meek, it is the hungry and thirsty for righteous, it's those who make it through tribulation who's going to shape and change the creation. And this is where the power comes. This is where the kingdom language comes. This part of the message is what defines what it means to be a part of the kingdom. And brothers and sisters, we kind of miss that sometimes. Friends, we throw that message aside because we all wrestle with this desire and with this propensity to want to be more than what Christ has called us to be. And that's nothing more than our flesh. That's not kingdom. That's our flesh. That's our wrestling with sin. And one of the things we have to continually do, like we read in these passages, like we read in chapter 16, we have to continue to wrestle with our flesh so that we can avoid that eternal damnation that we find Lazarus and some of the others facing in this chapter, in this reading. So a lot here, but what did you guys get? What did you learn? What did you gain from the reading today? Leave it in the comment box below. Let us know what you're thinking so we can all have some great conversation around it. But let's keep reading. We're almost to the finish line. We're going to keep going until we make it. So I'll see you there. Matter of fact, I'll see you tomorrow. But until then, take care. God bless. And remember, live by the word.